how India was born in 1947. You have to look at British Indian Empire. And in British Indian Empire, there were two parts. Broadly, the territories were broadly two parts. One is called British India. The other is called native states. Some of them are called Indian states. British love to call it as princely states, because for them, there can be only one king. There's the King of England. Bakika is prince, lower status. That's why it is called princely states. So what happened is, the Indian Republic that you and I are a member of today was born out of an amalgamation of those Indian states and British India. There were 600 roughly around states. And one of those states is the state of Manipur. You must understand this. There's something that I want to share with you. These states join together to form this country. They are not created by this state. Manipur was not created by the Indian state. Manipur was a state which joins and constituted the Indian Republic, like many other princely states. Some of them have been merged together with so many other areas, and states were formed. Till recently, there were only 3 of those states with their territories intact. One of them is Jammu and Kashmir, another is Manipur, the other one is Tripura. Jammu and Kashmir is destroyed, it's been broken up. And this is the second state which I suspect some people are trying to break up. And you must calculate why some people would love to break up this and then create bloodshed in an organically connected landscape. The intimacy between valley and its higher regions, what we call hills, is an organic relationship. And community which are so embedded with each other, not only in marital relationship and so on, but even in settlement patterns. And you are trying to tear that apart through false dichotomies and narratives. And you are asked to fight among each other. This entire region of the Northeast is sweeping by neoliberal economic forces. We are nothing. There are few lakhs of population, few crores if you combine all together Indian Northeast. Much more larger corporate capitals, geostrategic calculations. We are nothing but pawns. Your bloods, your cries, your pains seems to be less important to the larger goal. If it is not, I dare those people who have power, show us, stop this violence. If you have the power, if you have the concern for these people, stop the violence, don't play dirty games. For your larger game, making people fight, giving false ideas, hopes and aspirations. You know that some people were promised that your demand will be satisfied, help us in election. Have you come across that? Some cookie organization said, we have a tie-up with BJP from rebel groups. Is this an effort to implement those promises? Is it a process to solve the armed groups who have been refusing to talk to the Indian state by sucking them inside as this conflict prolongs? Is it a process that once you create this kind of a violence, then rapprochement and reconciliation becomes tougher and tougher and tougher? The longer the violence, more gross takes the violence, the more terrible is the violence, rapprochement will be difficult more and more. Is that what we're trying to do in our state? What are we going to do? My idea is this. I love this. Because to be a humanity, a part of human beings and humanity and so on, I think you first have to be yourself. If you cannot even identify with the pains of your own community and your cognate communities living together, don't tell me that you can be a humanist. You can be only a humanist when you understand the pains of the Maitais, the pains of the cookies and Joes. And you realize what is a common destiny that we have. If you can move beyond this parochial identity politics, and if you think this violence is something that will pay, I can promise you, for a mountainous persons who live in, or ecology, I've been saying this, Maitais, we think that we are like, as if we are like the Ahomias or the UPIs come from the plain. No, we are not. You ask your child to draw a sunrise and sunset, unlike people in Mumbai, they will probably draw pictures with the hills at the background. Kyun? Because that's the ecology where they live. And when you think about romance, look at the poems and the songs. Chingya Luya, Chingsang Pareng, this is part of your romantic imagination. Your livelihood, Ching the kaduna sing chanba, pata kumdana long konba. Why are you saying like this? Because it shows that you are a creatures of that ecological system of mountains and the lakes and the valleys and the rivers. You're not from the plains. And then, there's an interesting thing which was told to me recently by a junior of mine who settled down in US. He said, Tamo, we always love to put eco in our songs. So he said, Tamo, you are right. Because one of these American friends told me something that is eye-opening. He said, he just asked him, when he said, I love eco in my songs. This American asked him, are you originally from a mountainous region? Only then he understood. Why we prefer eco is because we come from a mountainous terrain where you can hear these eco sounds. That's why we have a preference for a slight eco in our songs and musics. Why I'm saying this, many of the Meiteis have lived with a contradiction without realizing that they are a hilly creature. You are born of that mountainous ecology. So asking you to be separated from that ecological system and boxed into a false category is asking you to die. So fight for us is existential. And I must end this with this remark. And I'm proud to Manipur for one more reason. In a globalized world today, your parochial identities cannot be the deciding factors. All other movements in the Northeast tend to be ethno-nationalists, narrowed idea of certain ethnicity and so on. Manipur is the only entity that gives you a hope beyond that, because by definition, the idea of Manipur and a united Manipur cannot be defended on ethnocentric ideas. It has to be an idea where every communities can live with dignity and peace. It is a fact of our life. It cannot be based on some imperial nostalgia of certain ethnic groups that may tend to suffer from, at least some of us. It cannot be based on exclusivity and sectarian ideologies of tribal identities. A united Manipur has to be defended on the principle of an idea where we can beyond this ethnic thing. I'm not denying that each community is important, just as I already said that you cannot be a humanist unless you understand your own community. So we must have an idea of united Manipur, not to be defended on a majoritarian imperial nostalgia or some ethno-nationalistic idea or tribal sectarianism. We must find a common ground. And that is why each one of us must start asking crucial questions. Do not fall trap into this mayhem. But as I started it, it is equally important for you to be assertive when people started telling lies about you and your communities. Then you must stand up yourself, but without being aggressive towards the others. And that's the only way to move forward. And I request through this, each one of us must ask critical questions, and I think the government of India must take the right kind of decisions. It is embarrassing for them not to do that. If I believe that the ice can be broken, if the Prime Minister, for instance, ordered all his MLAs to come to Delhi and talk, whichever community you come from, do you think that if the Prime Minister called his MLAs, they will not come? Tell me. If the Prime Minister called all the MLAs belonging to his party, do you think that some will not come? Let them sit in a room, talk. Don't throw this solution to the people. The government must take the initiative, and please do this. Otherwise, this mayhem will linger on for a long time. Don't threaten that, you will lose lives and a lot of Meitei women will be killed. I think, I must say that, I have to say something that I hold it very firmly. Manipur is not Kashmir. A lot of people will die if you try to make a muscle flexing approach. And those people will be Meitei, and majority of them will be our women. And if that bloodshed happen, the consequence of that one for the days to come will neither be good for India nor for that part of the countries. Remember, there are Meiteis outside the state of Manipur. So please do not take people for granted. We as a citizen must ask critical questions. The state must come in, impose its writ, do justice to people who have grievances. At the same time, I also appeal to people of my tribe, who are called academics, not to indulge in propagandist hate speeches. Check, don't tell lies. Whatever I say, it's not that it's gospel truth. There could be mistakes. But I believe that so far what I've been saying is two things. That to understand the collective good for all of us, state must take responsibility squarely. And we must remember that we can't keep fighting. And enough of bloodshed has already happened. It's time I want to see from the other camp as well, intellectuals speaking up for peace and dialogue, rather than accusing and hoping that certain kind of sectarian project will be fulfilled by indulging in violence. That's the only thing that they must realize. And for Meiteis, please remember, when your forefathers were doing satyagraha and peaceful demonstration for statehood, there was violence in Nagaland, Naga Hills, and a state was created, as if violence pays in this country. Do not repeat the similar kind of thing by simply indulging in violence. You will fulfill some demand. You should not encourage violence. And that is one message that I want to give through this. For the rest of us, especially from outside my home state, please ask critical questions. Please question these institutions like media houses in the government of India, not to be silent spectator or take sides or partisan positions on this conflict. Because if you believe that Manipuris are part of this country, then you should be equally worried that such a thing which has never happened in this country, why it has been allowed to linger on for so long. The day you started asking, you're doing a good service to yourself as a citizen of this country. Thank you all.